everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Anisha Christensen. Welcome to You Know How This Ends, the podcast that reminds you that no matter what is going on in life, your only job is to trust, to believe, to take those inspired next steps, and not give up because you know how this ends. Your goals, your dreams, everything you want in life is yours for the having. And I'm so excited to have my beautiful new friend, our guest today, Tara Mettler. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. I was reaching out, I was joining a few different groups, expanding my network and came across you and your profile. And I was like, yes, please. And so sent you a DM and she responded and we were chit-chatting about stuff. And I said, you know what? Let's have this conversation live over a podcast and share it with our listeners because we're both very passionate about the topic of money and wealth and finances. Like
Yes.
we need to have this topic on the podcast so that all of you listeners can be blessed and expanded by it just as we are. So happy that you accepted the opportunity, Tara.
Oh, well, thank you so much for asking. That was fantastic. It's like, when there's some good synergy and some good alignment, and it was just immediate. So,
Right? I love
hmm
it. I love it. Love it. Win-win. Well,
hmm
tell everybody here about you, about your family and about your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have been married for 28 years now. I come from a family of five kids, come from Wisconsin. You can probably hear it in my accent,
I
even
love
though
it.
I've been in the South now for 12 years, going on 13, it doesn't leave.
Nor should it. It's adorable. I love it.
Oh, thank you. So, but yeah, that's where I was born and raised, and we made a pit stop, I always say, in South Florida for a few years, and then we became the proverbial halfback, where people from the north move to the south, and they're like, "Oh, too far," and then they go halfway back to about the
I've
Carolina, Georgia
That's so
area.
funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never heard that term before. Is that pretty common if you're in that area?
Well, I didn't hear it either until I had moved to the South and I had vowed I was not going to become one of those. And here I am. I also said I would never move to Atlanta, but here I am. So I guess I learned a lesson there, like never say never. So
That is hilarious. So funny.
yeah.
28 years. We just celebrated our 22nd year anniversary.
Oh,
So I know what a
congratulations.
feat that is. Yeah, same to you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What would you say? Like, this isn't our main topic to talk about today, but if you had one piece of advice for women and for men, for couples, for
Mhm.
longevity in marriage and a happy marriage, in that, I
Mm.
mean, anybody can stay married, but to be happily married is a whole nother
Yeah, yeah,
story. And
exactly.
what do you think? What do you feel is one thing that has made that possible for you guys?
That you have to be best friends with your mate.
Oh,
Yep, yep. That's like, I mean, that's just super important. That's the person you're spending your life with, the most time with, that is going to be there to support you and elevate you. They have to have your back.
oh, I love
Yeah.
that. So were you already best friends when you got married and stuff, or did that come, do you feel like over time?
So my relationship with my husband is really interesting. So we met at a wedding, and literally I saw him across the table. There wasn't enough room for me to sit with my family at their table.
Okay.
So
Okay.
me and one of my friends ended up sitting at another table, and I saw him, and I literally leaned over to my girlfriend and I said, "That's the man I'm gonna marry." And
No
yeah,
way.
yeah, yep. And I mean, it was in a roundabout way because I was under 18 and I wasn't going to start dating until after I had graduated high school.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he had a girlfriend at that time and everything. I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry.
Good deal.
I know how it ends.
Oh
So
yeah, there you go, right?
but yeah, so then but it was one of those relationships where it's like you just knew. And it's interesting because our relationship has always been that way. We move fast. So when we started dating, we were married 6 months later. And everything that we do, if it's not in alignment, if we don't both come to the same conclusion at the same time, we know it's not the right answer for us. And that's how it's worked for us. We
Oh,
learned that really fast, and it's been a great ruler for our marriage.
that's beautiful.
Mhm.
Amazing. Any
Yeah.
children or fur babies, pets or anything?
Only fur babies. We've got four of them, and you're probably gonna.
Oh,
There's an ear down there. You can see one.
oh yeah, I can see the tip of the ear.
Yeah,
That's
we've got
funny.
four kitties.
Oh, cute. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Way fun.
Thanks.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. There's a little bit of background about you and your personal life. Tell us about your
Mhm.
business and what you do for women.
Yeah. So I am a financial architect. So what I do is I help people build the financial life that they're looking to lead now and in the future, however it transitions them. So my passion is working with women. I feel women are a very underserved community in the financial world. I saw
Mhm.
that for myself growing up. I had experiences with that once I started adulting and, doing things with money. And that really struck a chord with me. And as I've learned about this, well, I've always been very, very interested in finances. Never thought I would be in that for work, but I've always been very interested in like out of the box strategies and different things like that. So it's
Same.
only natural that I ended up
Yep.
in this, I found my calling in that way.
So side note, when's your birthday? What's your,
February 18th.
oh, okay. So you're Aquarius then? Are you an Aquarius? Or are you a
Yes.
Pisces?
Yes.
You're Aquarius.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Very fun.
Yep.
Very fun.
So,
Always good to
so
know all the
yeah.
things.
So
So
yeah,
when you say like women are underserved and you experience that, even
Mhm.
through growing up and then especially in adulthood, like give us an example. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, just the lack of education that's there, and okay, well, as an example, one of the first experiences that I had with like a traditional financial professional, we had gone to see one. He never talked to me once the entire time that we were there.
Really?
And my husband even had said at one point, she's the bank, like she's the one you want to talk to. And
Hmm.
it was like this is a man conversation. And I was just like, wow, wow, that's really something else. And so that was just one of the things that started, where I thought this isn't right. And
Yeah.
and even from my own experience, like just as a personal thing, my father passed away when I was 9 years old, and
Oh, oh.
he like very lovingly took care of the family. Like he was very proud to take care of as much as he possibly could. But when he passed, that left my mom in a position where she had to learn about all of that stuff at the same time that she was grieving and taking care of four children under 9. And it's like those are the kinds of experiences that stick with you
Hmm.
and make you realize that it's so important to be educated. And so that's why I really have a soft spot for women, because we're underserved. Sometimes we unconsciously give up that control or that education because we're being taken care of well by somebody who loves us, but that may not
It's
always be the
beautiful.
case.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's great, but that may not always be the case. And so it's to me important in order to give that space for them to be able to become an educated consumer. And
Yes.
whether they have to use it or not is no problem there, but to me it's always important. I mean, we use it every day, we use money every single day, so to be educated about it I think is really important. We do that with our health, we do that with lots of other things in life, so we should do that with our money
Find out
too.
with our finances. That's so perfect. My company is called Creating Her Empire.
Mm,
My business partner in this, Maylee Nelson, she actually started it several years ago. And then, long story short, we'll share another time of how I came into the picture. But that's literally why she started it and why she named it that, is because she herself was in hard financial situations and was able to get out
mm,
of them and become a really successful real
yeah.
estate investor and
Hmm.
just amazing, amazing businesswoman. And in the process, saw how many other women were literally having to ask their husband's permission for money to buy a new pair of shoes or to go out to dinner. Like literally, we're depending on someone else to care for them, and then we're going through divorce or
Yep.
heaven forbid, a husband passing away.
Right.
All of a sudden, they're in this situation, just like you said with your mom, where they have no idea, no skills,
Yeah. Yep.
no financial awareness, savviness, right? And so
Right.
her thing was always, I just want you to be able to buy a pair of shoes without having to ask permission, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
kind of this, envelope for we need women to be financially savvy and aware.
Yeah.
And 100% let your husband take care of you and provide for you,
Right.
but be aware, don't be a silent partner in this. Be smart, be
Exactly.
educated, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like just to that point, my whole goal when I work with people, I say I work with driven, high achieving women, yeah, exactly. Female entrepreneurs, executives, and CEOs, and the men that love them. I always tack that on because, it's not
Oh,
about just serving one demographic. It's
yeah.
important that everybody has it, but I really do have the soft spot for women. But my
Uh,
whole goal is to take people from financial frustration, stagnation, maybe even chaos, like you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you don't know why. I'm making money, but I don't know where it's going, like all of those types of things,
yes.
to take them from that space and bring them to a space of financial confidence, clarity, and control. That is my whole goal. And I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it.
I love that. So give us like, I mean, we have maybe 20, 30 minutes or so. What would you say would be your top two, three, four, five tips or structures, or just give us some insight on that? Let's start a conversation around the actual what women need to be doing in order to create that.
Yeah, so like well, it's like a two-parter. The biggest thing that I think is really, really important for everybody to understand about money is that we need to have two things. We need to have efficiency and we need to have control. The
Mhm.
moment we give up either of those two things, our money starts losing power and it starts losing value for us. And
Mhm.
those are the two things that we have been conditioned throughout time to do, is to give that up. So what do? We put it in vehicles that we know are not outpacing even just inflation. And
Yes.
yet that is where we've been conditioned. Stick it in an account, do it this way, do it that way, what have you, instead of making choices that are benefiting us, outpacing what is already being taken from us.
Yes.
Another thing is that we're conditioned to give that control of that money over to a professional and have them essentially make the decisions for us. So we've lost the control there. Well, what happens? Now we've got fees that are starting to eat away. We aren't in the full awareness of what our money is doing. And so if we're not an active participant, just like you were saying before, you can be um you can be a silent partner if you want, but still understand what is
What's going
going
on?
on. And a lot of times people just kind of think, oh, well, I've got a financial professional, I don't need to worry about it. Well, no, that's not what we need to be doing. So a lot of those kinds of things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest instead of, so like for example, I'm a real estate investor, so our money is
Yeah.
invested in real estate and different deals and opportunities and equity partnerships and things like that. I mean, real estate is such a beautiful way
Hmm.
to outpace inflation, right?
Yep.
Get better
Hmm.
percentages in the market, not as much ups and downs as in the stock market as well.
Right.
That's what I love and what we've chosen and what we train on. What have you seen? What do you suggest when women come to you and want to figure out this efficiency and control?
Yeah, so really what it comes down to is getting down to foundational and elemental principles of money. And so that's like one of the major things that I do. I have a mentorship program that I work with women on, and it's about setting up those systems, those structures, the mindset, the behaviors, the relationship that we have with money. Because when we don't address those areas, we end up making emotional decisions with money.
Yes.
And and while we want to be in tune with our gut, right, and our heart and what we want to do, we don't want that to be the driving force in what we're
Yes.
doing, right? So
Yes.
it's like I always tell people, you want to get emotionally involved with your goals, but you don't want to get emotionally involved with your money. And
I
so,
always tell people it's not the head or the heart. It's we want them to communicate, right? So your head is making
yeah.
the logical, practical decisions. Your heart is like, we want this, we want to experience this. And the head can say like,
Exactly.
yes, you will experience that. Not right now because we need to figure these things
Exactly.
out, right? But 100% yes, let's make a plan for that, right?
Exactly,
So I
exactly.
love
So
that.
it's like it's a
Important.
matter of getting that structure in place. And so that's really where I start everybody at, because there are foundational elements to what we do with money, how we think about it. You know, everybody knows, everybody understands, I think it's safe to say, of having a goal,
Yeah.
right? You know, but then a lot of times people will be like, well, I have a goal. I want to be financially free. Okay, well, what does that mean to you? You know, so we need to define that more. Okay, now we have that defined. Now, what are the steps that we need to do in order to get there? So it's like there's a lot of additional work that is easy to do when you have somebody guiding you to do that. It's not that you can't do it on your own, but it's always, you know, easier when you've got that support and that guide taking you through it. And it's a lot easier for you to stay in what I find, at least, it's easier for you to stay in the logical space when
Mhm.
somebody else is asking you those questions and guiding you along that path instead of doing it on your own. Because a
Yes.
lot of times what ends up happening is then the emotion comes in and it starts to override. And then we're kind of back to where we were before. So in getting those frameworks set up so that we have a clear vision, we have a clear number of goals to get us to that vision, and then we start to write our playbook, our money playbook. And
I
this
love
is,
it.
yeah, and this is where it really gets fun, because this is where it's your personality can come out. This is where you develop a healthy relationship and money becomes fun,
Mhm.
because now you have that emotion taken out of it. Now you can trust, you've got confidence in your decisions because your playbook has been designed in a way to get you to your goal and to keep you aligned to it. And so
Mm.
I love that part. It involves our mindset, it involves our behaviors, but it's written down in a logical way that we can always refer back to it so that we
Yes.
know everything that we're doing is in alignment and keeping us towards the end goal of
Yes.
what we want.
I love that. And you can always, I always say like we need to have a plan, an order, some structure, that masculine structure. And
Yeah.
then we can always flow from it, that we can always
Yes.
modify that, we can always change it, we can always
Yep.
redirect it, right? But at least it gives us a starting point, a structure
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, if I do make this choice and do this with my money instead of this is how it's going to affect it. Then I'm not going to have the money for this. Am I
Right.
okay with that? Or am
Right.
I not okay with that? It's so interesting that you bring that up because we just like in the last couple of years, because we're fairly new to this whole real estate investing thing, and the first one of the first months in our business that we made money, we made $30,000 in a
Oh,
month.
good for you.
And we had never made that much money in that short a time period before, and we were like, wow, like this is so awesome. And we're thinking like all the things that we're gonna do. And because we didn't have a plan or a structure in place,
Yeah.
all of a sudden a couple months later, we're like, crap, where did it all go? Like literally
Right.
$30,000 gone. And we were like, where did it go?
Hmm. Yeah, and that's what
Wow.
happens, and it's like, and to your point, that's a really good example, because that happens on the small to the large scale.
Yeah.
So if you think
Yep.
about it from the small scale, what happens when people get a bonus? I mean, it's gone before you know it. Like
Yeah.
people I mean, this is like one of the things that ends up happening where people get a bonus. And if that dollar doesn't have a job, it will assign itself one. And
Yep.
so what ends up happening, we go on a trip, we, update the house, we buy a new car, like all these different things. Now, if you had your playbook, is that helping you get to your goal, or is it sidetracking you? Is it actually making you go backwards? So it's like that's where that structure comes into play in order to make sure that we're still able to have fun, we're still able to express ourselves, but we're able to do it in a way that is still in alignment with getting us to where we ultimately
Yes.
want to be,
Yes.
Yeah, but like I
Love
was saying,
that.
on the small side, so you can take it all the way up to the big side. When you see people that get an inheritance, or like those that win the lottery, I forget what the statistic is, but it is within a very short period of time. I think it
Yeah.
was like something like 2 years, three
They're back
years,
where they
maybe.
started.
It's
Yeah.
gone.
It's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yep. Yeah. So
And
it happens. It's just kind of a natural way that we have with money, are the way that we utilize it, the way that it makes us feel. And so again, it's about taking the emotion out so that we can really truly enjoy it for the longest time that we possibly can.
I so many thoughts and things to share about this. So funny enough, my last podcast episode right before this one talked about respecting the time that it takes to build something solid.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Respect the time that it takes to build something solid. And kind of the whole idea of a pregnancy takes 9 months. When you're 7 months pregnant, you're done. You want that baby out of there. But if that baby is
Right.
born prematurely, there's a lot of problems and complications. So
Right.
I think my husband, when I was explaining this to my husband, he's like, well, I don't know how that goes. But he's like, it makes me think of the Three Little Pigs. Like you can
Uh,
build a house very quickly, but when
yes.
challenges come, you're not stable. It's not a solid structure, right? And so
Right.
respecting the time that it takes to build something solid, and that feels like that's exactly what you're referencing here in you can do these other things with it, but are you going
Yeah.
to be happy with that decision in a couple months, years down the road, or are you
Right.
going to wish that you had done something different, that you had had a plan so that you knew where your money went, and maybe you'd still take a vacation, right? But you're at least aware. Yeah,
Yes.
same thing. Like we're not saying don't do the fun things, but just be aware and have that structure in place. And for me personally, I have such my emotions are my guiding force, and I have such big emotions that I'm like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do it now. And my husband has learned like she's gonna do what she wants. So like
Sure.
whatever, baby,
Right.
But I have also learned it's not worth it to go and do this big thing and then be in lack later and send me down like back into that spiral, like the
Yeah.
fluctuation, right, of a lot and then spending it all in a little. And so we
Hmm.
have learned, like I said, over these last years, is this big, whether it's a renovation, whether it's a vacation, whether it's a vehicle, whatever it is it worth spending that big chunk and depleting our savings, depleting our whatever we have there, and then
Hmm.
being in that, oh no, now what's going to happen, right? Even though we know more is coming, how
Right.
can we find a better balance instead of the giant ups and downs? And that's the same thing with, with the lottery winners. They didn't have, most of them don't have the training, the knowledge, the experience, that foundation of
Oh,
something
yeah.
solid. So when that big windfall comes in, the only thing they know what to do is to spend it,
Is to
right?
spend it.
And
Yeah.
then it's
Right.
gone.
Exactly. It's like there's there's a couple of thoughts I have about all of that, to your husband's point about like the three little pigs
Yeah.
and the house and everything. I actually call what we're building is your personal economy, right?
Mm.
And it's interesting because the word economy comes from a Greek word that means house management. And
Oh, I
so
didn't know
really,
that. I love
yeah, so
that.
really what we're doing is we're building our financial house.
Mm.
And we want it to be built in a way, the whole goal of it is to be built in a way that you can weather out those storms. So when the big bad wolf comes, whether it's, from something that we want to do or something that is trying to take something from us or what have you, we are set up in a way we've already got all of that framework done in order to be able to weather that storm and come out successful on the other side.
Yes.
Um, but the other thing too, you're talking about like, let's say lottery winners and different ones like that. Another problem that comes about from that is that they don't have the right team around them either. And so that's another thing that we really, really emphasize in our mentoring program is developing your team that supports you. So it's like a lot of times people think, oh, I've got a financial planner, I'm set. And it's like, well, that's like one very small part of your financial board of directives, you could say.
Yeah.
You need a lot more people in order to protect you and help you keep as much of that money as possible. So I mean, we're talking about like somebody winning the lottery, but on a realistic scale,
Right.
even for everyday average Americans, we need a team approach in order to be as successful as possible with our money so that it has the right job, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and then thus we benefit from it.
Amazing. So who would you, in your experience and your expertise, who do we need on that team, our board of directors for our finances, our financial
Yeah.
planning?
So it depends whether, like, what kind of a structure you have, as to whether you are an individual, whether you have a business, different things like that. But it's really, really important to make sure that you have like the right kind of tax preparer, especially for entrepreneurs. A lot of times people think, oh, I just need a bookkeeper or I just need a CPA. Nope, 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 nope. One is recording what's going on and one is a historian. You need somebody. That's really what
Historian,
it
I
boils
love
down to. You need somebody
that.
who's also there in order to help you with business entities so that your entity is properly structured so that you're keeping as much of that money that you're making as possible. You need somebody like a fractional CFO in order to help you with tax mitigation and to keep you on the forefront. So it's like, if we're talking about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, there's several people that need to be involved in that in order for you to maximize. I mean, you're working hard, you're working so hard. I always talk about dollars are like little green soldiers, right? They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't take vacation. They do what they're told as long as you tell them what to do. But we are not that way. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need vacation, we need time to, decompress all of that. And so we need to make sure that we've got the right people in place so that we are making the most out of that time when we are in our business.
Love it. 100%. 100%. I was thinking of before we started recording, I was thinking how you said you had moved from Wisconsin to Florida and
Hmm.
kind of found out that Florida is one of the worst states to live in if you're an entrepreneur, right? So
Hmm.
being aware of what the rules are in your state, what all the different things, and having a tax or a legal professional that can help you with that and that awareness. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like that was something, I mean, things could have changed in the last, 6 years since we've been there. But yeah, for the type of industry that I was in, it was definitely not entrepreneur friendly at that point. And it's like I had to find that out on my own. And I almost found out the hard way,
Mm,
and that's not something that any business owner should have to do because that means you're spending more money on having to undo, redo, what have you, and that's counterproductive,
yeah.
So it's like again, we want control and we want efficiency. So when
Ah,
we've got the right team in place and our dollars are doing what they're supposed to be doing, we've got rule 1 and 2 covered.
all efficiency. I love it. So let's talk for a second about so with money we have the masculine side, which is the logical, the practical, the efficiency, the control. There's also the feminine side, which is the energetics side of it. Do
Yeah.
you do anything with that side of things?
Oh, absolutely, because mindset is so important,
Yeah.
that's definitely a piece of the mentorship that we go through. We talk about frameworks first because we need to make sure that we've got structure for that feminine energy to basically flow on. That's the way that I look at it. It's we're laying the road work and then we're able to travel on that. And so definitely mindset is super important because we can be doing all of this work, whether we're an entrepreneur or we're, a W-2 employee, whatever it is that we're doing, we can be unconsciously working against it or with it. And
Yeah.
it's always so much better when we're working in harmony and in alignment with um, the structures that we have in place, the intent of what we're trying to accomplish or what we want those dollars to do. And so mindset is definitely something that we cover quite,
Amazing.
quite, quite in depth.
It's a huge piece, right?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
such a huge piece is having, like you said, being in alignment, having the right mindset, having the right relationship with money. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
continually re reconnecting with money. I love one of my very, very first mentors when it came to money mindset type of thing. She had us do, this was so many years ago, she had us do the exercise of if money were a person,
Oh,
what is your
interesting.
relationship like? Are you the girlfriend boyfriend where you ignore, if as a girl, if money is my boyfriend or my husband, if I ignore my money for days, for weeks, and also I'm like, where have you been? Why haven't you been helping me? Why are you here supporting me? La la la, la, right? And all of a sudden come running back. What would the boyfriend do or the guy do? They'd be like, what are you talking about? Like
I
you
like
you
that. Yeah.
haven't you haven't connected. You haven't put any energy out here. I've been here. I've been trying to support you, and you've been ignoring me, right? Or is
Hmm.
it this constant? Is it this obsession, this obsessive compulsive relationship where it's just this continual? Why aren't you there? Where have you been? Where were you? La 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 la. All this stuff. What is your
Yes.
relationship like with money? Is it a healthy relationship? If this were a
Right.
personal person relationship, would that be a good one? Is that one that you would want to stay in? Is it one that money would want to stay in with you?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting that you bring that out because when you're working on mindset and things like that, we have a lot of paradigms, right? We've got a lot of programming,
Yes.
and some of it we're aware of, but a lot of it we aren't. A lot of it comes a lot of it's inherited, and what our previous generations have gone through, but a lot of it we get when we are very, very young, like within the first few years of life, what you're
Oh
seeing,
yeah.
what you're hearing, and all of that. It was interesting because, like, I've done personally, I've had coaches and I've done a lot of mindset work on lots of different things. And it's incredible when you become aware of that, just how much of an impact it has on your day-to-day life and what you're trying to accomplish. And when you're intentionally focusing on it in the right way, just what incredible changes also happen.
Mhm.
It's really amazing. And it was interesting because I was in a group, a Facebook group, and somebody in there had made a post about they were having a lack of funds and they needed to do something. They didn't know how to break it to their kids that they weren't going to be able to do something. And I was like, well, this is going to be really interesting to see what the comments were. And I had to stop. I had to stop looking at it because it was like killing me a little bit inside because people were like, you need to tell your kids you can't afford it, you need to tell them that we don't have the money for it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my word, no, no, because all you're doing now is programming these children to be in a lack, in a scarcity. And I mean,
Mhm.
I've had to break myself out of that kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
programming, and it's entrenched because I've
Yeah.
had to do it repeatedly, Um, because that works its way in. The negativity always works its way in so much faster and more long lasting, and it does so much more damage than the positive does, which is why we always have to continuously work at it from a positive angle, but it made me so sad, and I thought that really is one of the foundational things, that it's like, if I could tell parents anything, is to be so careful about how we present money to our children, because that is the programming that's going to set them on their course for life. One of the best gifts you can give your children is to speak about money in a positive way. So instead
Mhm.
of coming at it from a lack, come at it from a standpoint of um, how we can afford it. So instead of how can we afford it, how can we afford it?
Yeah. What
Because now
could
we're
we
coming.
do?
Yeah, I mean, you just put the emphasis in a little different spot, and it activates your mind to look for solutions. What can we do? We can make it a family project even. Like, what are some ways, what are some things
Yeah.
that we can do in order to afford something
Happen.
that we want or something that we want to do? And
Mhm.
that's setting the right intention. That's putting out that positive, flow for money to come, and things like that.
100%. Ah,
Mhm.
I love that. We could talk about this for days, I'm sure. Something that we both feel so passionately about. I love it.
Oh.
It's interesting, on the kid realm, it's interesting to see when, because I mean, as kids, we don't understand how money works, right?
Mhm.
We ask our parents for money and they give it to us, and our parents just provide things and stuff, and that's great. They should,
Mhm.
they're they're minors. They're meant to be provided for, right? But it's so
Right.
interesting to see how when you give them some of the responsibility for that, all of a sudden, I don't want it after all.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
they have a part and they're like, oh, no, I'm not really like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody has their personality, right? In addition to what we've been exposed to.
Yep, I love
Mhm.
it. So I guess maybe one of my last questions would be, what do you feel? So in when we were, it's for those that are joining us here, when Tara and I were chatting before we started recording, we realized that we both had a really strong connection, a spiritual religious connection to God, to a higher power, and the fact that we belong a to a God who has promised to give us all that they have and more, who has told us over and over and over, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open unto you. What was the one that you added about blessings being poured down?
Yeah, how blessings will be poured out onto you until there is no more want.
Yeah, until there's
Yep.
no more room to receive it.
Yep.
And I see this and I know this, and I know that our listeners know this consciously. This isn't new news, but yet so many people feel like they are still in lack and they are not receiving. I've asked for this blessing. I've asked for financial prosperity. I've asked for success in this area and they don't feel like it's coming. I'd be curious to have a short discussion on how if a client came to you and said that and was asking for your advice on this, what do you feel like you would what would you share with them? How have you seen this? How have you seen God showing up in your life and clients' lives when it comes to financial matters?
Yeah. So, oh my word, like I could go in a lot of different directions on that. Um, but part of that is I really feel like we need to work in harmony, right? So again, it comes to that mindset, that intention. Um, so when we feel like something isn't coming to us, it doesn't mean that it's not. Um, there is, okay, can I share a scripture?
Please, 100%.
Okay, I
And
gotta
anyone
find it.
listening that God is not your higher power or you belong to a different religion, please substitute whatever that word is for you. Don't get hung up on our words.
Right. But there is a scripture. It's in Mark. Let me grab it here. I think it's Mark 11:24, if I'm not mistaken. This is one of like my favorite scriptures in the Bible, and it's a very, very good one for exactly what we're talking about right now. Okay, so this is, of course, in the gospel. So Jesus is saying, "This is why I tell you, all the things you pray and ask for, have faith that you have received them and you will have them."
Yes,
And so
I
it's like
know.
I love that scripture for so many reasons, but if applying it in the sense of something financial, not that God is there to like be a genie and be like, "Oh, you need money, I'm going to give you money." He's a
Yeah.
parent, right? So just like parents are like, "Well, sometimes you have to work for it, I want to see something before, what have you."
Mhm.
God's very much that same way. And so I thought this scripture is just something that has a principle in it. So, it can apply to so many different things. But if somebody is saying, well, I'm not seeing the answer to that prayer yet, it's coming. Just have faith that it's coming. Act as though you've already received it and you will have it.
Yes. You
Yeah.
know how this ends,
You
right?
know how this ends. Yes, thank
And
you. Yep, we've
and
come
when
full
I
circle.
yeah, and when I first learned this principle, and it's funny that you bring up that Mark 11:24 because I was like, I think that's the one. So I'm a musician as well, and my first song that I wrote back in 2020, the whole thing was based on trust, and that was one of the scriptures
Oh, how
I brought
nice.
in is that promise of you've already been given it, so act like you've
Yes,
been given it, and everything is
exactly.
created spiritually before it's created physically. So again, trusting the time that it takes to create and build
Yes,
something solid, right? It doesn't mean, and the same thing with a gestation. When you're pregnant, just
yes,
because that baby hasn't popped out yet, that doesn't mean it's not coming. Doesn't mean you're not pregnant, it's coming and trusting that time. And it's funny because so many things. Like we learned so much along the way, right? And when I first heard that scripture, I was like, act as if. Okay. So if I had a lot of money, then I'd be going out to eat. I'd be buying all this. And we literally like we spent everything. Like we depleted our
Mhm.
savings because we were acting as if.
Right, right.
We were rich, then this is what we would do. And it wasn't until later on in the course of our journey, right, as we learn and expand and grow into this stuff, that it was like, oh, acting as if doesn't have to mean that you're going out and spending everything that you have. The wealthy don't blow their money on
Right,
dumb stuff. The wealthy are smart with their money. And
right.
to me, it became more of that it's coming
Yes,
for everybody out there that's in that situation where you're like, why hasn't it come yet? So act with the gratitude, the
yes.
positivity, the
Hmm.
trust that you would have if it was already there. And whatever
Right,
you're doing doesn't mean you need to go out and blow a bunch of money or go into debt because you're trying to act as if.
right,
Acting in that same gratitude, that same trust, that same love, that same peace that
right,
you would if you had all the money that you needed in your account.
right. Well, and to add to that too, you're acting as your future self, right?
Exactly.
And that's part of like the behavioral and mindset work too that I work with on my clients is that you have to think about, like future Tara, future Denisha, and think about what would this future person do? What would they be thinking? How would they be handling this situation? What would they be doing to overcome it? And it's like that really ties into that, because if you act as though you already have it, that means you're that future person when that blessing is going to come to you. So if you act in that way, you think like that person, you deduce like that person, you plan like that person, then that's yet another funnel for that blessing to come to you.
Love it. Love it. I also love how Jesus, so on the same line, how Jesus gives us that example of in our prayers. And read the scripture again. I want to make sure I quote it correctly. Can you read that again? Do you still
Oh,
have it?
yeah, yeah. It says, all the things you pray and ask for, have faith that you have received them and you will have them.
Yes. Okay. So to me, I took that as when I pray, I'm not praying, please bless us with this and please help us to have this. I literally pray, thank you that we are blessed with so much love, abundance, prosperity. Thank you that we have all the financial support that we need. Thank you that we're able to pay our employees and pay our team and do all this stuff. I am acting because it is like we do. And even on the times when we haven't, we're always able to, like there's always a way provided. And so that acting as if is literally giving thanks as if it already has happened because it has.
Yes.
Spiritually, maybe it's not physically in your account yet sometimes, but spiritually it already has.
Yes.
And so living
Yes.
in that and using that verbiage in the way that we pray, in the way that we talk, with
Yes.
everything that we do.
I
Oh,
agree 100%.
so juicy, Tara. I knew we'd have so much fun and so many awesome things to share with our listeners. So this is fabulous. Thank you for taking the time to have this conversation and
Oh, you're so welcome.
impart your wisdom and your wealth of knowledge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. This was really an honor and a blessing.
Thank you. I agree. So tell our listeners, where can they find you? Do you have a website? Is social media best? Do you have a program they can look into?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
can they find you?
absolutely. So, all of my handles are the same. My website, my Facebook, my Instagram is all Position Yourself WS. So for my website, positionyourselfws.com.
Okay.
And then for Facebook and Instagram, same thing, Position
Pop
Yourself
that pop
WS.
that into our text chat, and I'll have my team that does my podcast make sure they put on the
Okay.
thing. Position yourself.
Yes, Position Yourself WS. And so at any of those places you can go. I have available my signature coaching program, my mentorship program, which is a 16-week program. You can do that either as a private model or as a group cohort. One of which is going to be starting at the end of this month here. So if that's something that appeals
Nice.
to
Yeah.
people, it's super fun. And like I said, it takes you through 8 different modules, all the way from setting the groundwork through to due diligence, legacy. I mean, we go into all
Oh my
sorts of
gosh.
different
Do
things.
you
Like
do you do real estate investing? Do you guys invest in real estate? Like
we
using all
have.
the terminology.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not in the same way that you do, but
Okay.
yes, we do have some real estate holdings in that way too. So
Awesome.
yeah, but it's like so many different things that are covered in it. So to me, it's very foundational, elemental, financial information that is going to serve you no matter which direction you take it from there. You're going to feel so much more confident and in control of what you're dealing with and what you're able to create.
Awesome.
So that's what my offer is, and I love just being able to talk with people and see how I can support them on their financial path.
Amazing. I know you said in when we were chatting and texting the other day that you have a Facebook group that you're getting started.
Yes, yeah. My goal is to launch that today, hopefully today.
Awesome.
But
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna be a Facebook group called Next Level Wealth, and it's going to be all about wherever you are on your financial journey, taking you to the next level, showing you what else is there, making sure you've got everything that you've laid before done, in a way that's going to continue to serve you as you continue to grow.
Amazing. So this podcast will air on July 21st. So
Okay,
it should already be up and running. So make sure you drop that and we'll have that in the podcast information where people can find the Facebook group as well. That'll be perfect.
perfect.
How
Yeah,
beautiful in alignment. You're launching it today at the time of recording. We had
yeah.
reached out to connect. You're going to help get more people in there. I
Oh,
love.
fantastic.
Win-win for everybody.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you. We'll talk to you soon. And
Sounds good.
everybody who's listening, remember, you know how this ends. You know how your financial journey ends. You have people here to support you, like Tara, like myself, like God, right? Trust in the process and put in the work mentally, physically, emotionally to get yourself into vibrational alignment, to be a match, to bring it all in, and to do the physical side as well as the spiritual side. And you know how this ends. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tara. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.